What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Yugi-Kaiba format video. This time, we're finally moving away from worm control videos, and we're going to talk about Stall Mill. Now, I know this may not be everyone's favorite deck, and many people actively hate this sort of deck, but it is a viable and very competitive deck in the format, so I do want to talk about it. The point of Stall Mill is basically to get your opponent to run out of cards in deck and deck out. So if they go to draw an additional card and they can't anymore, then that means they lose the game. In order to facilitate this, we're basically playing no offensive monsters because the point of the game is not to get in for damage, although the games can end that way in rare cases. And we're maxed out on basically defensive walls and spells and traps that can let us get rid of our opponent's monsters, let us set up our own defenses, things like that. And of course we have 43 cards in deck to make sure that we don't run out of cards in our deck first. So for the card by card breakdown here, we have pretty much every 2K defender that's a level 4 or lower in the game. So we have Giant Soldier of Stone, Spirit of the Harp, Mystical Elf, Aquamador. Those are the 4 level 4 or lower monsters that have 2K defense. We also have Wall of Illusion at 1850. This does bounce a monster back to hand, which can set them back a turn in terms of summoning, or just get a Summon Skull or Judge Man off the field to prevent them from being able to run over your other 2K defenders. So this can be pretty decent, although unfortunately it does prevent you from being able to remove your opponent's monsters with things like Fisher and the like. And of course we also have 3 Man-Eater Bug to clear away some of our opponent's problematic monsters. In addition, we also have 3 Gyakuteno Megami. This is a level 6 monster, so 1 tribute monster with 2K defense. And you're basically playing it so that you can have access to more removal with things like Soul Exchange and also Change of Heart. So similar to Soul Control, you are using this to clear away your opponent's monsters, get a defensive presence on the field. But unlike Soul Control, you're less worried about bricking because you're planning on stalling for so long, and you're not actively trying to progress your game state. So this does brick a lot less than it would in something like Soul Control, especially since you have 43 cards, so you're less likely to see any of these individual cards at the beginning of the game, let's say. You're more likely to see them, when you've already got an established board state. For the spells, we of course have the Change of Heart and Soul Exchange that I just mentioned. We also have the other limited spells, Dark Hole, Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, Raigeki. All just very good, must includes in pretty much every deck. We also have 3 Fisher to act as more removal. And we have 2 Sword of Revealing Light to act as more stalling. The name of the game is stalling our opponent, and these can help. And lastly, we have a Card Destruction. Now, Card Destruction honestly isn't the best in this deck. It can close out games. If your opponent has a big hand and they've got not many cards in deck, you can use Card Destruction to basically cause them to deck out immediately. So it's nice in that regard. And it can also be used to sort of unbreak your hand if you're drawing things that you just can't use and you can't deal with your opponent's threats. Card Destruction can be used as a last resort in those cases, although you don't really want to use them that way. But this is probably, the weakest of these spells here. There are arguments for bumping Card Destruction up to 2 copies to enable you to facilitate an earlier kill, like if your opponent has 5 cards in hand and 10 cards in deck. If you have 2 Card Destructions, you can activate both and deck them out. But once your opponent knows you're on Stall Mill, they'll be playing around those sorts of things, and Card Destruction can break more often than not. So it's honestly not the best card in the deck. So 1 copy is fine. And we also have, for traps, 3 Trap Hole, which is just great removal. We have 3 Woboku, which is great at stalling, protects our life points, protects our monsters. And 3 Ultimate Offering. And 3 Ultimate Offering, these are pretty much the backbone of the deck. This enables you to bring out your defense position monsters during your opponent's battle phase after they've potentially used some form of removal on your other monsters. Just an incredibly, incredibly strong card. So we do want to play all 3 just to make sure we draw it as soon as possible. And again, like the Gyakuten Megami and the Soul Exchanges, we don't really care too much if we brick on it because we'll likely already have an established board state. And for the side deck, we have basically a smokescreen side. So after game 1, it's likely that your opponent will side into cards that are really targeted to give this deck a tough time. So we can side into a bit more of a standard Soul Control build. So we have 3 Login, 3 Battle Ox, 3 Neo, 3 Summon Skull, an additional Soul Exchange if we want to keep in one of the Gyakuten Megami for more removal, and 3 reinforcements to combo with our more offensive monsters. Now, before I dive into the duels, I do want to give credit to DK0. This is their deck list that can be found on the Yugi-Kaiba Land Discord server. And I did feature this in the guide to Yugi-Kaiba video that I made a while back. But I'm using their deck because they've done the testing on this thing. They've fine-tuned it. And honestly, I don't want to play more of Stall Mill than I have to. So I will gladly reap the rewards from their hard work. And if you want to play Stall Mill, this is a very good Stall Mill deck to start out on. But anyways, now that I've done the deck breakdown, let's dive into the duels. Okay, we've got a game against Aretos here, who we've featured on the channel in the past. And it seems like they're playing a non-Stall Mill deck since they have 40 cards in deck. And we, of course, are playing Stall Mill because we have 43. We won the rock, paper, scissors, so we will choose to go first. You could argue that we should choose to go second because then our opponent is 1 card further down in deck. But you play 43 cards for a reason. You're unlikely to drop below that unless you misuse card destruction. So I think that going first is good. It gets you closer to setting up, Ultimate Offering, setting up your defenders. So I do think that this deck does want to go first. And we're going to draw here. This is not a bad hand. We don't have Ultimate Offering, but we do have 2 defenders. We have a Trap Hole to act as removal, and we have a Fissure to act as another form of removal. So this is fairly good. We're just going to set the Aquamador, set 2, and pass. Aquamador is a bit of a better defender to lead with because Wall of Illusion, you want to save for your opponent's tribute monsters mainly. So we'll just go with the Aquamador. They're also just going to set 3 and pass. There's, we don't know exactly what their set is. It could be a bug, but we're not going to push it. If it is a defender, we don't want to commit more to the board. And if it's a bug, they can clear our monster, but we do have a trap hole to deal with whatever else they bring out. So we're not too torn up if it is a bug. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox, and we are just going to trap hole that. And they will Maneater Bug our Mador and get in for 450, which we're honestly okay about. They're going to set 1, pass back to us, and we're just going to set our Giant Soldier, set the Trap Hole replacement that we drew, and pass back to them. So now we have insulation against another, level 4 beater that they might want to bring out. They're going to bring out Login, and we are just going to Trap Hole it. They'll switch Bug to defense, pass back to us. And we do have a Gyakuten Megami now to pair with our Soul Exchange, which is very nice. Very nice to see. They're just going to pass back to us. We drew another defender. We'll just pass back to them. We could commit more defenders here, but since our monster isn't face up, we don't have to worry about a Fissure. And we don't want to play into a mass board clear like Dark Hole or Raigeki. So we're fine just holding on to our monsters in hand. We're just going to pass back to them. They're just going to pass back to us. And now we're at 7 cards in hand. So we do need to play a card from our hand here. And we'll just choose to set the Swords of Revealing Light. If they blind Dispel it and hit it, Swords was the Dispel target anyways. So it's not that big of a loss. So we'll just set that. They'll pass back to us. And we'll set a monster here, mainly because we have a bunch of defenders in hand already. And we don't necessarily want to set all our spells and traps because we do want some zones clear in case we draw actual trap cards and in case we want to activate important spells. So we are going to set a monster even though it does play a bit more into Raigeki or Dark Hole. We drew another defender and this time we will just set a spell or trap. We don't want to lose 3 monsters to a Raigeki or a Dark Hole, so They're going to pass, and they're going to end their turn. They're actually not going to commit more to the board. They're just going to discard a Woboku because, frankly, they don't really need a Woboku against our deck. We are going to activate Pot of Greed, even though we are close to hand size, because we want to dig deeper so we can potentially get an Ultimate Offering. Or a Woboku even, because we don't have any trap cards right now. So we are very susceptible to something like a bunch of monsters hitting the field all at once. So we are going to set a Soul Exchange, set a Spirit, and pass. That way we don't have to discard anything. And we are really playing into something like a Raigeki, but we do have defenders to back it up later. And they're going to discard a Trap Hole because that's another card that we will not be playing into because we don't have any big beaters. We're just going to Fisher away their Bug and then set one card just to, clear up a spell and trap card zone so we can set a spell or trap. This does make a Dark Hole more tempting on their part, but honestly, a Dark Hole was already tempting enough on their part because Man-Eater Bug is essentially not a monster after it used its effect because it has such little attack. So we are just going to Fisher away their Bug. And they will activate Dark Hole. So they will clear our whole board, which is unfortunate. And they will be able to get in for 18. But 1800 alone isn't the worst. And now they've gotten rid of their Dark Hole, which is nice. That Trap Hole's a bit annoying to see. But, it's fine. We can Trap Hole whatever they summon out. Bug their remaining monster. But they're just going to attack him with a Lodgin. And we will bug their Lodgin. They're going to set a monster of their own, which is a Bug. And we are just going to Soul Exchange that monster away. We could have used Sword Revealing Light to obtain the same outcome, but this way we actually stick a monster on the field. We reduce our hand size by 1, and we save swords to actually stall attacks when we need it. So we're going to pass back to them. They're going to Soul Exchange our monster away, and then drop us swords just so that way we can't summon out like a giant soldier and attack over their skull. Perfectly reasonable play. And we have a bit of a debate here. We could set the Wall of Illusion to bounce their skull back to hand. We could sort of then light them so they can't attack with the skull. We do have the Trap Hole to deal with it as well, so that's not honestly the worst thing in the world. We're just going to set a defender and pass. I guess we're probably just going to Trap Hole their Summon Skull. And we do Trap Hole their Summon Skull. So I think that was a good play. And we do draw another Gyakuten no Megami to pair with our additional Soul Exchange. So we're feeling very good about that. We are just going to Change of Heart their monster, hoping it's a Bug. It's unfortunately a Giant Soldier. So we will tribute off the Giant Soldier for Gyakuten no Megami. I think maybe this was a mistake. They had already used up 2 bugs. So it was unlikely that was another bug. And if we'd used the Soul Exchange, we would have gotten rid of the bug anyways. So I don't know. Soul Exchange is much less useful than Change of Heart in general. So I think that might have been a bit of a mistake, but they're going to bring out Wall, and they're going to Reborn Summon Skull. So seems like they brought out the Wall just to dodge Fisher. So this way their Summon Skull won't die to Fisher, which is a very smart play on their part. They're going to Summon Skull into our Megami, and then attack Wall into the Aquamador, pass back to us, and we finally draw Ultimate Offering, which is incredibly, incredibly good. So we're feeling very good about that. We are just going to Raigeki their board away, set Ultimate Offering, and pass back to them. We could have Dark Hold, but this way they still have to use some form of removal on Aquamador. So we're saving the Dark Hole for later. They're going to set one, pass back to us. We draw another Aquamador, we pass back to them. They're going to set another, pass back to us. We don't even care if that's a Man-Eater Bug anymore because we've got Ultimate Offering, so we can bring out more defenders when we need to. And the passing game continues. We have 7 cards in hand, which means that we either have to play one or discard one at the end of this turn. They've used up Dark Hole, but they have not used up Raigeki, so we don't necessarily want to play into Raigeki. We're just going to end turn and discard the Ultimate Offering because we figure that it's very unlikely that they have trap removal in the main deck because things like Trap Master, remove trap, reroute the cards, those things aren't generally common in main decks. They're generally in the side deck if you have them at all. So we will discard the Ultimate Offering because we already have one online. This does signal to our opponent that we probably do have an Ultimate Offering set, but I think they probably could have guessed that anyways by this point. They will flip up the Giant Soldier, Fisher away our Aquamador, try getting in for some damage. We will flip up the Ultimate Offering, set another Mador, and they will take 700 there. They'll set one, pass back to us. We do have Reborn, so we could Reborn their Summon Skull and try attacking their Giant Soldier, which is what we'll do. We're just going to go for it. You know, if they Raigeki our board, we're fine with this being the board they Raigeki, because we have like Maneater Bug in hand, which we definitely don't want to get Raigeki'd, and we also have Ultimate Offering to set monsters during their battle phase. So we're fine taking the risk. We will just attack into Giant Soldier. They'll take 12. They'll set one, pass back to us. And we draw Card Destruction, which we don't really want to use at this point. It just doesn't really do anything for us, especially when we've got the board pretty locked down. They're going to use Wuboku, pass back to us. They're going to bring out Lojin, which is fine. And they will attack into the Mador, which is also fine by us. They're going to use Reinforcements to clear the Mador. And they are going to Fisher away the Summon Skull. So that does clear our board, but they had to use 2 cards to do it. And we've got plenty of other monsters in hand to bring out off of Ultimate Offering. So we're feeling pretty good about that. Fisher is a great draw. We'll just Fisher away their monster. Set a wall, pass back to them. You might wonder why we set a monster when it can be, you know, susceptible to like a Raigeki or a Change of Heart or something during their main phase. And the reason for that is we only have 10 activations of Ultimate Offering, so we do want to make them count. And we do have other monsters in hand to bring out off of it if they do use removal on this. So it's fine to set it now, even if it is a bit more susceptible to removal. They're going to bring out Neo, and they will just attack into our set. It is a wall. They'll take the 150. Neo will bounce to hand, and they'll just pass back to us. Wuboku is a great draw, because we have not drawn a Wuboku over the entire course of the game. Luckily, we haven't really needed it, but it's nice to see right now. So, we're just going to pass back to them. We could have set the Wuboku, but honestly, with Ultimate Offering on the field, I don't think we really need it. And we don't want to block our last spell or trap card zone. They're going to set one, pass back to us. We draw another Ultimate Offering, so we're just going to discard that in the end phase. They're just going to set another, pass back to us. And, you know, I don't know, we don't really need to do anything. We might have the read that's bug, but we could just discard like a wall at the end of our turn. Okay, or we could just set the wall. It does make more sense to set the wall because, you know, if we discard it, it guaranteed goes to the graveyard, whereas if we just set it, it doesn't necessarily do that. So we're just going to set the wall. They're going to flip up bug, pop our wall, attack into the wall. They'll take 1400, but they will get to set the bug again, which is a flaw of wall. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Luckily, we've got Dark Hole, so we can just clear the board away. And we've got enough defenders that we don't really care. We'll set another wall. They're going to Change of Heart our wall. So they do know it's a wall. They're just going to tribute it off for a Summon Skull. Because I believe we've used up all our trap holes. Yep, we've used up all 3 trap holes. So they're safe to do this. They're just going to attack in. We will Ultimate Offering, set a bug, pop their skull. And they're going to Swords. And they're at 8 cards in hand, which, you know, we're feeling pretty good because we haven't used up either of our swords. We haven't used up any of our Wubokus. So we are just going to set 2, pass back to them. They're going to bring out Neo. They're going to attack into our set. They're going to Reinforcements over that, but, you know, they're running low on Reinforcements. They've used up 2 already, so they've only got 1 left. And we've still got defenders to spare, as well as just swords and Wubokus. So, feeling pretty good. That feels very good that we drew another defender. We're going to set one. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox. They will attack in with the Neo and Reinforcements over our Mystical Elf. But we do have another defender here that they will not be able to get over. They're going to set one, pass back to us. And we're feeling pretty good. We're just going to Swords because they've got 6 cards left. If they have Despelled, they have Dispel. But if they don't, then both of our Swords here will just close out the game. So we're feeling very good about that. We are on the home stretch, and we do draw another Wuboku, which is very nice to see. They'll set another, pass back to us. We'll pass back to them, and Sword expires. We draw Gyakuteno, finally, to combo with our Soul Exchange if we need it. We are just going to Sword to them again, and they will admit defeat. So it seems that they did not have a D-Spell in the main deck. So that's game one, and that's how a lot of stall games go game one. Sure, you can get unlucky, and your opponent can get lucky, and they can break through your stall board. Maybe you don't draw Ultimate Offering, or any ways to deal with their monsters attacking in, and you just lose immediately. But generally, like once you get the board established, there's nothing they can do. So we figure that they're very likely going to side in pretty heavily against the stall deck, so we do just side into the Soul Control package here. So we are going to play Soul Control, albeit a slightly less consistent Soul Control because we do have 43 cards in deck. So let's hope that doesn't affect us too much. They're going first. They're just going to set 3 and pass. And we have a couple options here, but we are just going to set a defender, set a Speller Trap, pass back to them. And unfortunately is a bug, so we do get punished for just setting the defender. They're going to attack him with the bug, which is honestly fine by us. They're just going to set another, pass back to us, and, you know, I didn't mention this last turn, but we do have 2 Summon Skull, which is kind of unfortunate, you know. Soul Control does brick, and it's bricking now, and it can brick even harder in a deck that's 43 cards. That makes it more unlikely that you're going to draw into the Soul Exchanges and Change of Hearts to combo with the Skulls. But we're going to try bringing out a Lodgin, and that is okay, surprisingly. So we will attack into the bug. They will take 1350. We'll set our reinforcements, pass back to them. And they're just going to set another, pass back to us. Waboku's very nice to see as well. We're just going to attack into the Giant Soldier. We could reinforcements here. We choose not to because we have a Fisher. So we want them to think that their Giant Soldier is adequate to protect them when actually it isn't. But they are going to bring out a Lodgin of their own and try attacking in. And we do have a choice here. We are going to Waboku, to which they will reinforcements. And this is why we went for Waboku instead of reinforcements, because we really don't want to lose our Lodgin. And they're going to pass back to us. We have a choice here. We can attack into the Lodgin, use reinforcements to get over it, and then Fisher away their Giant Soldier. Or we could attack into the Giant Soldier, use reinforcements to get over it, and then Fisher their Lodgin. That's the safer play, I think, because it plays around them having another copy of reinforcements. So we are just going to try attacking into the Giant Soldier. And they will not Waboku here, so we will reinforcements over it, Fisher away their Lodgin, and pass back to them. You may think that that's a bit greedy, but I think we really didn't have any other options. We've got 3 Summon Skulls in hand that we can't do anything with. So I think we had to just go for broke there to preserve our Lodgin. They do have Soul Exchange, so they will be able to bring out a Summon Skull of their own, which is unfortunate. We do have Bug, though, so we will set the Bug, set a card Destruction, pass back to them. They're going to bring out Neo, and they will Raigeki away our Bug, which is super unfortunate. We really needed that Bug to stick, but unfortunately they played around it. And we do draw another Bug, so that other Bug is very helpful. We can set that, pass back to them. They'll Swords first, so we will be able to pop their Skull. And they will get over Bug, but that's fine by us. We draw Neo here, which we could summon the Neo, but then that's very susceptible to just any form of removal. And it's just a very big risk. We could set the Neo as well, but then we just lose it to their Neo. So we kind of have a choice here. We could just card Destruction to draw into more cards, but then we lose all our Tribute monsters. So then our Soul Exchanges will be dead. It's a big, big decision. We do go for the card Destruction because we figure as long as we don't draw the Soul Exchanges, we should be fine. And we really need some cards to be able to deal with what they've got on board and protect ourselves. So we are just going to pitch everything. And they do reveal they have a Fisher. So I think that was the smart play. And we draw 4 cards that are not the best. We'll bring out a Battle Ox. And then we'll Reborn the Summon Skull to play around a Fisher. I think maybe I should have actually brought out Lodgin and then reborn Summon Skull in order to more effectively play around their Fisher. But at least this way, if they have Raigeki, they can't just clear our board and attack in. If they do have Fisher, they do have to lose the Neo to clear our Summon Skull. So that's the reasoning here. We'll set the Soul Exchange as a bluff. They are going to attack into the Battle Ox. We won't Waboku. They will Waboku, unfortunately. So they will Fisher away our monster, pass back to us, and we draw swords of our own, which is very nice. We'll bring out the Lodgin, pass back to them. We're going to hold off on the swords, hoping for a more opportune time to use it. They will attack into the Lodgin with the Neo, and they will reveal reinforcements. So we will lose our Lodgin as well. It's very unfortunate. That Giant Soldier is very nice, though. So we will just trust that this Giant Soldier will survive, and it does. They will activate another Swords, though, and pass back to us, which is unfortunate. We will set the Mador in case that's a Man-Eater Bug, or in case they have another Fisher, which I think they can. Yeah, they've only used up 2 Fishers, so they could have another Fisher. They're going to flip up the Neo and tribute off the Neo for a Judgment after checking that we did have a Trap Hole, which we don't. And they are just going to attack into the Giant Soldier with the Judgment, attack the Aquamador with the Neo, pass back to us. Trap Hole comes just a little bit too late. We are going to Swords and set the Trap Hole. And unfortunately, now we just have to wait it out. We're going to set the Giant Soldier. Sure, this plays into Raigeki a bit, but in case they have D-Spell, we really need another defender. Waboku is a very nice draw here. It can protect us for a bit longer. They will flip Bug, pop Giant Soldier. And Pot of Greed is a great draw. Can it give us something that we need? Not really what we need. They have Pot of Greed of their own now. And they are just going to attack in. So it seems they still don't have Raigeki. And they will reinforcements to get over the Mador. Get in for 450. Set 2 and pass back to us. We think that is a Man-Eater Bug, because they've only used up 1, and they might be setting it to preemptively pop, one of our Man-Eater Bugs that we could set potentially. So we will Change of Heart. We will flip it up, and it is a Trap Master. So we won't be able to use the effect, but we can potentially pop their back row. They are going to chain it to our Trap Master's effect, and it is a Waboku. So they will be able to, protect their Man-Eater Bug. We could attack in with the Trap Master here just to clear it off the field, but honestly, that's a very bad plan. So we just have to Waboku and hope we get lucky with our draw here. Swords is a lucky draw in this situation. It will buy us some more time. Raigeki is another great draw here. And Neo is another good one. So we'll be able to summon out the Neo. We'll get Trap Hold, unfortunately. And we'll pass back to them. They'll pass back to us. Waboku, we do Raigeki here. You could argue that we should have just used Waboku next turn and hope for the best, but we figure that we've got 2 Trap Holes, so we can stop whatever else they bring out. And we want to save our Waboku for when it's really needed. So we are just going to Raigeki that. Set the Waboku, pass back to them. They'll bring up Battle Ox, which we will Trap Hole. They'll pass back to us. Ultimate Offering is not what we want to see here. They're going to bring out another Battle Ox, and we have a bit of a debate here. Do we Trap Hole it, or do we wait for like a Lodgin or a Soul Exchange something? But I think we do have to Trap Hole it, and we do. And they reveal that they've got Reborn to bring back Summon the Skull. We will be able to Waboku that, but it's not looking good for us. And another Trap Hole is not what we needed. So, unfortunately, Game 2 did not work out for us. And that sort of shows one of the flaws that this deck does have. Even though it can smokescreen side, it's siding into a less consistent version of Soul Control, which is already iffy on consistency, right? Like, Soul Control is known for bricking when it's playing just 40 cards and having a very streamlined deck. So when you're playing 43 cards and you don't necessarily have all the cards you necessarily want, it can be a bit rough. So we did lose Game 2, and for Game 3, we're going to say, you know what? We're not going to keep siding in Soul Control, we're just going to go back to the stall strategy, hoping that they're going to kind of ease back on the anti-stall deck in their sideboarding. You know, it seems like they didn't really side into too much stall hate in Game 2. It seemed like they just sided into a bit more Soul Control, adding a Judge Man probably, and some Trap Masters to deal with our ultimate offerings. So we can feel comfortable siding back into the stall deck. They may be a bit more prepared for it, but I do think it is probably still a good matchup. So we're going to side into the stall, and we are going to go first again. And this is a pretty good hand. We do have the ultimate offering opening hand, which is very nice to see. We have Trap Hole, 2 walls, and a bug. So that is a very nice hand. We're just going to set 3, pass back to them. They're going to swords, and it wasn't bug, so they won't be able to pop it. And they'll just bring out a Lodgin and pass. You know, I think that they wanted us to use a Trap Hole here in fear that they had a Fissure. But we've got ultimate offering, so we're really not afraid of a Fissure here. Raigeki is a great draw for later. They are just going to Change of Heart our wall. Try and attack in, but we do have ultimate offering, so we will be able to set a wall. And they will tribute off our wall for a Summon Skull. And we're honestly fine with that because our wall can bounce it back to hand. So we're not too worried. We can save our Trap Hole for a better target. We'll just Raigeki that board, actually. You know, it's a 2-for-1, so it's kind of nice. We don't have any Wobokus, so I guess I see that play. Yeah, and this makes sense. This makes more sense why we didn't Trap Hole then, because this way we can definitely save it for when we have a monster that we don't want to be attacking that gets summoned. So Raigeki their board, pass back to them. They'll bring out Neo, and they will attack into our set. It is a wall, so that will bounce back to hand. And they're just going to pass back to us. Fissure is a nice draw. We can use it later. And they're just going to set 2 and pass back to us. We are perfectly fine with that. And they're just going to set, pass back to us. Card destruction, don't really need it right now. Pass back to us. Woboku's a very nice draw. Just a bit more insulation if they ever manage to assemble a bunch of damage on board. They'll set 2, pass back to us. We'll set another monster so that way we don't have to discard and pass back to them. They're going to flip up a Lodgin, and they will attack into our set. It's just a Mystical Elf, but they will reinforcements to get over it. Cut our field down by 1. We do draw a Soul Exchange, which is very nice. We can use that on a set that we think is Man-Eater Bug. And we will just set a Giant Soldier, pass back to them. I think, honestly, we could have just not been committing to the board and just discarding card destruction, since our field is very well established at this point. But I guess we are playing it safe. They'll attack into the Giant Soldier, set 2, pass back to us. And we do draw an Elf, which is very nice. We're just going to set the Soul Exchange. We still have 1 space open for any spells or traps that we want to activate. So we're feeling good about that. And they're just going to set another and pass back to us. And it's a bug, so they will be able to pull off the bug, destroy our Giant Soldier, attack into wall, reset the bug play. But we're not too torn up about that. We'll set the Fissure because we can just use it in a pinch, clear their Lodgin, and then activate whatever else we want to activate. So they will flip up Giant Soldier. We're absolutely fine with that. They will pop our soldier, attack into our wall with their bug, which is fine by us. They'll get it back, reset the bug, pass back to us. And we will Soul Exchange their bug, set Gyakuten no Megami, and pass back to them. And this is why we were fine with that play, because we could reasonably predict that they'd set a bug again. And this way we get to clear it and bring out another defensive wall. They'll set another monster, pass back to us, and we're just going to set the Fissure because, again, we can use these very easily. So it doesn't really take up our spell and trap card zones that much. They'll flip up the bug, pop our Gyakuten, attack into the wall, and this is a bit more annoying because we don't have an easy way to clear it. They're just going to switch their Giant Soldier defense, pass back to us, and we have a bit of a thinker here because We know they have Bug, and they can just pop our wall next turn. Or they can just pop whatever monster we bring out to set. So we don't necessarily want them to do that and then keep getting the value that they've been getting. So honestly, we probably just shouldn't do anything, and we can just discard this Ultimate Offering, because we already have Ultimate Offering up on the field. We will Fisher away their monster, though, and then Fisher away their Lodgin as well. Just this way, if they pop the wall, then they can't get in for too much damage. They wouldn't be able to get in for too much anyways because of our Ultimate Offering. But this also clears up 2 spawn trap card zones. So we will set the Fisher, pass back to them. They're going to set another monster, pass back to us. And we don't want to set the trap hole because we already have a trap hole. And we're feeling pretty good about this. We don't want to set another monster because, again, they can pop it, attack into wall. So we are just going to discard the Ultimate Offering. We figure we have an Ultimate Offering on the field, so we don't need the additional Ultimate Offering that we just drew there. And here's where things go south, because they reveal that they do have a Trap Master, so they will pop our Ultimate Offering. And this, I think, is a big misplay on my part. I should have remembered that they had Trap Master in the deck from Game 2, and I should have been prepared for this. But unfortunately, I was not, and they will be able to get rid of Ultimate Offering, which is really bad, and get Trap Master back to hand, set a monster, pass back to us. And we do just have to try and, get rid of their Maneater Bug. And we do get rid of their Maneater Bug, and then we just have to hope. If we set this Bug, they flip up Trap Master and maybe attack into it, we can at least pop the Trap Master, or we can pop whatever monster they bring out to pair with the Trap Master. So we will just do that. We also will set a spell as a bluff. This makes their Trap Master less likely because they're sniping blind. They're going to bring out a Lodgin, and we are fine with that because we figure, we've got the Bug to pop whatever else they have. And they reveal that they didn't actually have Trap Master set. They did have Neo, which is a pretty good play on their part. We will pop the Neo with the Bug, pass back to them, and we will set a Defender, pass back to them. We are in a tough spot, though. They're going to Soul Exchange, which is really bad for us. They're going to set a Summon Skull, pass back to us. And we do have a bit of a choice here. We can Dark Hole their field. We might want to save the Dark Hole for when we think they have another Trap Master, though. We can pop their Summon Skull with a Trap Hole, so that's somewhat nice. So it's a bit tricky. We got to think here. We are just going to Dark Hole, though, to play it safe. And we will set a monster, pass back to them. They will Reborn the Summon Skull, which is pretty rough for us because they will be able to get over our Aquamador, set a monster, pass back to us. And, we see that they've got 2 bugs in grave, so it might not be a bug there. So we could reasonably set the Maneater just to, on that hunch. We could also activate Swords to reveal it just to check to make sure it's not Maneater. We could also Fisher away their Summon Skull right now. There's a bunch of different options that we have. We are going to Swords, and luckily it is Maneater, so it will pop itself. I think maybe we should have Fissured here beforehand to clear the skull no matter what, in case it was something like a Trap Master or something, because then we wouldn't have been able to clear the Summon Skull here. But I guess we're just not going to clear the Summon Skull at all. We're just going to keep the Swords up and active, set 1, pass back to them. We know they don't have Maneater now since all 3 are in grave, so we feel a bit more comfortable about that. They will unfortunately correctly snipe the Trap Hole here. I guess that's why we kept the Fisher set, because we still wanted to have a spell card bluff for their Trap Master. Unfortunately, they just were accurate, so we will lose the Trap Hole. Luckily, we have 2 Trap Holes in hand to back it up, though, so we're not too worried about that. We will pop their Summon Skull with our Maneater, just to preemptively get it out of the way. And they'll bring out a Battle Oct, which we will get rid of with a Trap Hole. Our Swords will expire, but we can switch the Bug to defense here, so that's not the worst. We'll set 1, set 2, switch Bug to defense, pass back to them. And we're in a pretty good spot here. We have 2 Waboku to act as defense. Sure, they haven't used up any of their board clears, but we do have more defenders in hand, and we can Trap Hole whatever they bring out, so it's not the worst thing in the world. They're going to bring out Neo. which we're debating trap holing, and I think we just will. Trying to keep them off of monsters as much as possible. We're just going to pass back to them. And they will tribute out Summon Skull, which is a bit rough. They do know that we have 3 trap holes in Grave, so it was a safe summon, unfortunately. And they will Raigeki our board away, get in for a big 25. We could Waboku this, but honestly, we probably want to save the Waboku for more damage. So we will take the 25. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. Change of Heart doesn't really do anything here, unfortunately. We do have the Fisher for their Summon Skull, though. So we could do that. Oh, I guess we're going to try... I don't actually know why we do this. Maybe just to get damage on them, because then we could potentially just win through fishing away their Summon Skull, bringing out like a Wall of Illusion and attacking for game. But they are just going to Waboku that, so it didn't really do anything. So, you know, they get the Summon Skull back. They'll attack the wall. The wall will bounce the skull back to hand, which is nice. They're just going to set 1 and pass. We could honestly go for more damage here. We could bring out an Aquamador or a Mystical Elf. Try hitting in. We do have Waboku and Fisher to back it up. So we could do that. Instead, we're just going to play defensive because we are in a commanding position still. They're going to set another monster, pass back to us. We know it's not a bug, but we don't quite know what it is. So it is a Trap Master, and they are going to try and hit the card that we most recently set, which is part of why we set it. You know, we figured that they might go for that instead of one of the ones we've had on field for a while. And luckily our bluff worked. They will be able to tribute out the Summon Skull, unfortunately, again, and they will be able to get over our Aquamador. But that's not the worst thing in the world. We finally draw another Ultimate Offering, which is very nice. So we are going to be a bit more insulated here. And we Fisher away their Summon Skull, set the Ultimate Offering, pass back to them. They're going to bring out a Battle Locks, and they are trying to attack in. We will be able to use Ultimate Offering, set a Defender, and they will get over it with Reinforcements, but we do have another Defender in hand for next turn, so it's not the worst thing in the world. And we draw another Defender on top of it, so we're feeling very good about this. We can use Swords later to stall them for 3 turns, and then we have 2 turns of free damage with the 2 Wabokus that we have, so we're getting to the point where we've basically won the game. We just need to hold on a bit longer. They will Fisher away our Aquamador. There was a bit of lag there, which is why, you know, there was that sort of thing. And Man-Eater Bug's a pretty good draw. We are going to just Swords them, pass back to them. They're going to Tribute set a monster, which is perfectly fine by us. Soul Exchange is a brick, but we don't really need it right now. You know, we're just going to keep passing back and forth. And we can actually Soul Exchange their monster, which is kind of funny. But we're not going to do it right now. Swords will die. Reborn is a decent draw. We can Reborn back their skull. You know, clear their monster. And set just a bluff, a Soul Exchange there. Pass back to them. They will Fisher away the skull. But we will be able to Ultimate Offering here. Set the Mystical Elf. So they will not be able to get in for damage here. They'll set another, pass back to us, and a 3rd Waboku will wrap it up, because next turn we can activate 1 Waboku, the turn after we can activate another, and the last turn we can activate another. So this will be the end of the game, and, you know, we are just going to let it play out a bit, though, and we'll just set a bug, I guess. I don't know why we did that. I think we should have just ended it here, but maybe it didn't occur to us at the time. And we will just, you know, reveal that that is the game. That they can't touch us with damage with those Wabokus. So, that's Stall Mill. And I'm pretty sure this video is going to be fairly long. I tried to speed it up as much as possible because I know that these games can be tedious. But I hope this showed off the power that this deck can have when it gets control of the board. Because this is just, like, miserable for our opponent to deal with. And it's honestly somewhat miserable to play. I actually don't really like playing this deck. I want to show it off for these videos just to get a full picture of the format. I don't really like playing it, though. And a lot of people, I think, also don't like playing it. So it's not really one of the more common decks in the format that you'll encounter because people generally don't like playing it. That being said, it is extremely, extremely good. I'm not sure if it's the best deck in the format. It's been debated about whether it's the best deck in the format or whether Soul Control is. But I do think that it can be super, super oppressive if you can set up your board early on. And it can be really hard for the opponent to deal with, even if the opponent sides in to a bit more stall hate. Like, our opponent here sided into Trap Masters, and they sided into an extra Judge Man to serve as another Soul Exchange target. But they had to keep in their trap holes, basically, because in the second game we revealed that we could be on a Soul Control package, and trap holes are kind of necessary to deal with that deck. So it's just very infuriating to face, very infuriating to side against, because you don't know whether they're going to stick with stall or not, and that makes it a very brutal deck to encounter. That being said, it isn't perfect. You know, when it sides into Soul Control, if it does, it's playing basically a worse version of Soul Control. As the second game of this match showed, it was very, very inconsistent. We drew 3 Summoned Skulls and no Soul Exchanges or Change of Hearts, which is super unfortunate, but it can happen when you're playing a less consistent deck. I will have at least one more video with this deck in the future, because I do think that having only one video for one of the most powerful decks in the format would be a bit disingenuous. But I'm not going to focus on this too much. I've also featured this deck, not with me playing it, but with other players playing it in the past, and shown it off a bit there. So you can watch those videos as well if you want to see more of this deck. But I hope that this was a good sort of introduction to the deck, and maybe helped you learn how it operates if you didn't know already. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.